So I grew up in the 60s, and it was a time of like lots of liberations, wasn't it? It was this time of change, and it was kind of an exciting time. I remember, coming home from school and turning on the TV and seeing all the stuff going on in the news, and some of it was kind of devastating, and it was kind of exciting. It was a time when the women were burning their bras, and it was a time, that I think gay liberation was happening. It was women's rights, gay rights, blacks' rights. It was all of this change because they were being liberated from this bondage. And I got to thinking about, I can remember wanting to go to San Francisco and wear flowers in my hair. Did any of you ever do that? Did any of you ever? And I was in this little town, we never did any of that. But I saw it on the news and I thought it would be so cool to be there. But this whole idea of liberation, of being able to break out of the what was, and that's what they did. They broke out of the way it was so that they could move into something freer and something all new. They evolved. And see, that's really what life is about. It's about evolution. You move forward into whole new ideas. My kids went to Arkansas last week, I think they just got back. And Jenny was telling me that they went and saw a museum, I guess, where, does anybody remember the Arkansas 9? It was, I think there was about 9 little black kids that were integrated at that point into the school. And during that time, these little kids, I think they started them at first grade, so they were like six years old, all the way to, I think up to 10th grade, they went to school. And it was the first time that the blacks had ever, went into a white school. And that there was so much hatred that the teachers even didn't want them there, even the governor. And nobody wanted them. I remember that time, kind of. And they tell the story that they got, all this script on it. And these little kids, this one lady's an adult now, and she's still alive, and she tells the story that she was about 6 or 7 years old, and she was just looking just for this face, to see somebody smile at her, because she was all alone, this little black face, in this all white place. And everybody was mean to her. And she finally sees like this woman, older woman that looks like she's got this, really sweet little face, and she smiles at her, and the woman spit at her. The woman spit at her, and she tells that story. And that's the pain sometimes that we go through. The reason I tell this, because it's kind of painful to even hear that, but they're the way showers into the next level. You understand what I'm saying? That had to happen before there was the freedom that broke out. And I'm relating that to you because you guys are the way showers for the new way of being in the world, right? We're talking about self-liberation now. And self-liberation is what's inside. It's the freedom inside of us. It's not about really what's outside. This whole idea of self-liberation is about freedom from the bondage of our own little self, that Judy called it. It's freedom from the bondage of our thoughts and our meanness and our anger and our jealousies. It's being able to have choices, to step forward and to make a difference. And you guys, right here, it's the people that want to change who they are inside, that will make the difference in the world, just like that little girl had to take that so that all the blacks could start integrating into the schools. And so it's this idea that we are stepping forward, we are way showing. Jesus was a way shower to show us that we too could be free from what's within. It just touches my heart every time that I think about that. We've always wanted everything, we'll always want to be free. But the biggest freedom we'll ever have is the freedom from our head, from the thoughts in our head, from what we think about ourselves, what we think about other people, what the monkey mind. But when we break free, we break the bonds. We break the bondages. Chopra, he's got a really great message on our inner freedom. And what he says is that our bondage is a prison of our own conditioning. Our own conditioning. Through your life, you've been told who you are. Judy talked about it in length. This is who you think you are, and this is who others have told us that we are. And when we can come to a place where we know who we really are, that we are the power and the allness that Judy talked about of God, we break through the bondage that has kept us in a prison. We break through it. And at that point, when we are associated with this bigger self, this incredible allness, I love the allness because it says everything. It's the allness of God. When we can identify with that instead of the small self, we make changes in our life and in turn make changes in the world. And that's what this is about. That's exactly what this is about. I love the term that we are the hands and feet of God in the world. You are the hands and feet. You are doing God's work in the world because you are that. You are that with every smile, with every kind word, with every bit of compassion that you have. You are the hands and the feet of God in the world. And when we are working at that level, you know, when we are coming from that level of reality, from a higher place, then we start to create our lives at that level. We start to create more possibilities, more choices. You know, we have freedom of choice then. And we create our lives so differently than we do when we are centered in the ego level, the level of pain, the level of bondage. He says, Deepak Chopra, that when you are free, you are self-liberated. We identify with our inner self instead of our self-image. We put that first. That walks first with us. We know, see, what is the difference then between an inner self and a self-image? It's that we know we're connected. When I come from my inner self, I'm so connected with you and you that you matter because you're a part of me. But when I'm connected with who I am, I'm this person up here that's going to tell you how to live. I'm coming from my little self that thinks I know a bunch. And so it's our job every day to center ourselves enough to come from that big self. And when you do, you can get through the stuff in your life. You all got stuff. Judy talked about it. I heard several people this morning tell me stuff going on in their life. We all have it. But when you identify with that bigger self, that huge allness, wise, intelligence, beauty of God, it changes everything that you're going through. You deal with things differently and you see it differently. And when you see it differently, it changes. Your perception changes everything. But what happens is we come from our ego self, you know, and then we get lost. We think that we are our creation. And I love that. You know, it's like when I play dolls sometimes with Lily, my 4-year-old. You know, we start to pretend we're this, she's Moon Baby and I'm Big Baby. And we play all these, and then all of a sudden we get lost and we really think we're them for a while. Well, that's what we do, really. If you think about it, you know, we think we're the person that we are, that we've created. We think we're that. Instead of jumping out and saying, okay, we're not going to play dolls anymore, you know, we relate with the person that we are. And so always the analogy that I've heard used, and I really thought about what that meant, was the ocean. You guys have heard that we're part of the ocean. We're part of this deep ocean, and you see the waves on the surface, and we identify with the waves. But I really want to get into that for just a minute, because that's what I do sometimes when I want to center myself, is think that we all are part of this incredibly deep, beautiful, silent ocean that is all-knowing and all-wise. Now think about that. When your head's spinning around, we're all connected in this beautiful blue ocean. And think about that as our big self. And then there's the waves that are part of that on the surface. And the waves are our little selves. You know, they become the waves, and they don't even know that right inside of them, right part of them, is the power of intelligence of God. You know, and they're crashing into each other, having these lives. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're not happy. They crash in, they dissolve, they die, they go through losses, right? They go through all of this stuff alone because they don't know that we're not separate, that they aren't part of the incredible bigness, the allness of the ocean, this deep, incredible ocean. So I guess what is important about this is that maybe you remember when you're going through stuff in your life, that you aren't alone, that you are not separate, that we are one. You know, it's kind of overused, we're all one, you know, but the truth is that we are so connected, and what we don't have, someone else has. Boy, I've found that in my life. And when we're connected, we have it all. We have it all. We have each other. And what I don't have as a little self, somebody else has. I just love that analogy. you know? So our job is to really incorporate the ocean within our hearts, you know, to be able to live from that big space, integrate the God self within you into your little self, into the everyday stuff you have to go through in life. Because when you do, you see a radical shift, not only within, but without. Because we know what's within creates without. So your life changes, even on the surface physically, because you have touched just a place within. You become the infinite. You become everything that God is. Everything that God is, you are. Compassion, love, wisdom, beauty. That is you. And when you know it, it changes your life and everyone else's. You know, for some people it happens overnight. For Eckhart Tolle, that's what happened. He went to bed, woke up enlightened. He did. He's got an incredible story he tells about it. It doesn't happen that way for most of us. We work on it. We come to service. You know, we meditate, we pray. We work on it because we want to be the way showers that show other people how to live your life. We have to be compassionate with them and understand. See? And then we become one of those little waves that serves the other waves, that helps them, shows the way. We show compassion towards it all. Because empathy and compassion is what really life is about. It's about being there for one another. So I'm going to close because one of the ways, you know, I work on this all the time. I work on this all the time. Right when I think I got it, something comes up and I go, wow, work on yourself. So what I've learned is that when nothing's going on in your life, work on yourself. Because something will come up and you're going to need it. Right? Always happens. So every day, pray. Every day, meditate. Whatever it is that gets you centered in that ocean self, do it. So I started a passage meditation months ago. I love it. It's been a real centering. And what it is I found a great spiritual teacher, and we've talked about having a class, and I'll share it with you. But what passage meditation is finding a passage from some holy book or something that you love and memorizing it. And you kind of do that with Science of the Mind, you told me. And I love that because that's what I do too. And I use the prayer of St. Francis. And that is so incredibly, you know, huge to me. And I want to read that and tell you what it means to me, because it is about moving out of this little wave and into the deep, deep, beautiful blue ocean. Here's what he says: Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Show me, make me an instrument. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Let me bring joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. That I may not seek to be understood as to understand. You know how you want everybody to understand you all the time? What if we tried to understand them? As to be loved as to love. Love somebody instead of seeking love. For it is in the giving that we receive. And it is in the pardoning that we are pardoned. It's about forgiveness. And it is in the dying that we are born to eternal life. And in the dying, it's dying to the ego. When we die to the wanting of this and wanting of that, and our life is about service, and it's about giving, and it's about identifying with something so incredibly big, our lives change. And you are the ones that will change the world. You are the ones that have the capacity to do it. Not everybody does. Not everybody does. There are some people that are so stuck, and I know this to be true, that they can't even choose. They can't even choose to be different. And it takes a lot. But I know everybody here can do that, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be in a place like this that has kind of crazy out of the box thinking sometimes. You wouldn't be here. But it's profound. And it's that way through history. It all had to be kind of crazy and stuff before anybody did anything. And so that's what this talk is about. It's about self-liberation. It's about freedom. And that's my prayer for each one of us, is that we tap into that big, beautiful, blue, wide ocean, and that we liberate ourselves so that we can liberate others.